The Justice Minister, Ronald Lamola, has presented his political overview to Parliament. His main focus was the annual report of entities in his department, including the National Prosecuting Authority, the SIU, and the Office of the Chief Justice. Lamola touching on a number of escapes from the country's prisons, also giving an update on some of the high-profile cases, among others. Well, the Minister joining us now to unpack some of the issues that he would have spoken to parliamentarians about yesterday. Minister, good morning to you. Pleasure to talk to you. Haven't spoken to you in a while. Let's touch on this first. You told the committee yesterday that the fight against fraud and corruption is beginning to yield significant results. Justify your optimism, Minister.
Yes, Toli, as you will be aware that when I started the term of office, we had challenges with the ID in terms of resource, forensic investigators, including the prosecution. And we helped to build the institution, and they are now beginning to attend to the issues that are coming out of the Zondo Commission. As you are already aware, some of the matters are now in courts. And the work of assisting these institutions with the resources is beginning to yield the results, not only in terms of fraud and corruption, but also in terms of the morale in the institution. We have enabled them to appoint about 1,000 prosecutors across the country, which then helps the institution to have the desired human resource for the job at hand.
Yeah. Well, let's touch then, Minister, on one of the cases that perhaps is seen as the largest corporate fraud in South Africa. That's the Steinhoff matter. If indeed there is traction in dealing with fraud and corruption, why is there no movement in this matter? Or are we completely blindsided as to what is going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, as you will have heard in the report yesterday, which I presented to Parliament, I stated that the leg of requesting mutual legal assistance in some of the corporate jurisdictions has been processed from our side. And there is another request that is coming to deal with such issues. As you are aware, it has spanned various jurisdictions across the globe. And we have sent the mutual legal assistance to those countries, and it is being processed. So I do believe that as and when they receive the information, they are able to take it further. And also with the support that they have received from the investigating arm, which is the Hawks, and amongst the NPA, they are working together to handle this matter. So I do think that when they are ready, they will be able to tell the nation how far they've gone. But there is visible progress from our side as the central authority in terms of the international jurisdictions where they needed the information. So I do think that at some stage they will be able to update the nation, but there is progress that is happening, even on that front.
Well, as you argue that there is visible evidence on your end, what will appease South Africans at face value, though, would be to see someone like Marcus Jooste in handcuffs. As things stand, the understanding is that he's still living large in Hermanus. Should he not have been charged here, Minister, particularly around the allegation that he tipped off his close associates before that financial disaster came to light? Because that, according to those who know the law, and I'm glad I'm talking to a lawyer here, that is one of the things that the Hawks could have easily arrested him for. Shouldn't that be one step in appeasing the South African public that something is being done around this case?
Yeah, obviously, Toli, you are aware with the criminal justice system, shortcuts may not work. So I think society is impatient, I agree, and it's understandable because of the type of a matter. which is very important in corporate South Africa in terms of white-collar crime. But I do think that we need to give them the chance to attend to the evidence, to the investigations, and they have shown from our side that indeed they are attending to the matter. So I do think that they will be able to update the nation, which obviously they will be at the time ready. It will also be to be shooting themselves in the foot if they jump when they are not ready, because these are very complex matters. Even in any other investigations that they are handling, you will have seen that they have taken their time and they go to court when they are of the view that they are ready in the facts and in the law. And I do think that even on this matter, they are attending to it, and it's one of the matters that is a priority matter for both the NPA and the Hawks, and I trust that they are doing their best to attend to the matter. And the nation will be updated as soon as they are ready, which I do think that they also understand that it's an issue of national importance.
Yeah. Let's talk state capture for a moment. Yesterday, you updated parliamentarians about the status of the arrest of Atul and Rajesh Gupta in Dubai. What proof is there that they are still in custody in that country? And what is happening in terms of that mutual legal assistance to bring them back here?
Yes, indeed. We have got confirmation from the Dubai authorities that they are still in custody. And we are in constant engagements on various issues related to the matter, where we are cooperating with the authorities in the UAE as the authorities that are now supposed to process the matter. And we are aware that the matter will soon be going through their courts in the UAE. So they have also attempted to apply for bail, which was denied. So there is confirmation from the authorities there, and they will not have even attempted to apply for bail actually if they were not arrested. So they are arrested.
Yeah.
We can confirm, and the process will soon be going through the courts. As you are aware, it was the process has to start with the Department of Justice in the UAE, which is the central authority like ourselves, but they will soon be taking through their court processes. And we will continue to update the nation as to how far is the process. And we are up to so far believing that there is good mutual cooperation between us and the authorities there.
That's absolutely comforting, Minister, to hear that they are still in custody there. But I suppose the worry for ordinary taxpayers like myself is eventually them getting to South Africa. And the reason I say that is that Shrien Diwane becomes a reference point for a person who gets arrested in a foreign jurisdiction, and only for us to be questioned here about prison conditions and whether or not these people will still be able to be treated in a manner that, I suppose, befits what authorities deem to be conducive conditions in their jurisdictions. Are you confident that you've made a good enough case for them to ultimately be brought here?
Yes, we are confident, Colin, and you will be aware our prisons are run in terms of the Nelson Mandela rules, which is the global gold standard for any prison in the world. So we are confident that our conditions will be able to house them as and when they come to our country. And we are confident that we have complied with the treaty as per the agreement between us and the UAE, the extradition treaty or agreement in terms of the request that we have made. And where there are issues, they are able to raise them with us and we raise them with them, and we correct whatever issues that could arise. And we are confident that we have been able to comply with the treaty. So we are definitely from our side convinced that we have done everything possible under the sun to comply with the treaty, and also to ensure that these people of interest, the Gupta brothers, will one day stand in front of our court and account for what the courts want them to come here. So it's just that, unfortunately, extradition processes are illegal, protracted in nature. But we are convinced that they will one day come back to the country.
Okay. Let's then talk about the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services. We're now talking correctional services matters. And Justice Edwin Cameron, the understanding from media reports I read is that he has criticized life sentences that are handed down to people who have committed very serious crimes. What crimes am I talking about? Rape, murder, and other violent crimes. The understanding is that he is saying there are alternative forms of punishment. What other viable options are there instead of keeping these people in prison for possibly a lifetime?
Yeah, obviously that is the view of the judge in that since we introduce what is now called the minimum sentence with regards to some of the heinous crimes that are committed, the number of inmates in that category has increased above 20,000, and obviously it also affects the overcrowding levels because they stay longer in our facilities. So if you have such a huge number that stays longer, obviously it will affect the population. But we as the department and you will be aware, we don't agree that there could be another form. We believe that this life sentence that is being imposed is the most appropriate sentence to this type of crime. It is proportionate to the offense. And we also acknowledge in other countries they've got different ways of handling it. But in the context of our country, we are of the view that this is the most proportionate and appropriate sentence to respond and to be equitable to the type of crime that they've committed.
All right, so fair to say that as things stand, South Africa will continue with the lengthy sentences for those who commit heinous crimes.
Yes, it is. But obviously there is continuously to be engagement with the inspectorate, with the academia, with society on the most appropriate type of sentences and so forth. But there are sentences that I do agree that may need some kind of an alternative forms, particularly the petty crimes, which those that are sentenced for such could be sentenced to community supervisions, correctional supervision, and so forth. So those are things that obviously the system can be able to adjust, to respond to, and also enable them to be rehabilitated in the process.
Minister, the one final point I can't let you go without soliciting your view on. South Africans may have forgotten now, but you were outside a correctional center where a former president of this country was incarcerated, albeit less than a month there before he was taken home on a medical parole. You were very clear outside that gate that former President Jacob Zuma will not be given preferential treatment. He will not be treated as a special human being, if you like. But where we are today, is it fair to say the medical parole system has become something of a joke, is it not?
Yeah, the medical parole system is continuously to be guided by the Correctional Services Act, and whoever gets the parole in terms of the Medical Parole Act, or in terms of the Correctional Services Act, has to comply with the conditions and with all that is stipulated in the Act. And you will be aware, this matter, we are still awaiting the outcome of the Supreme Court of Appeal. So I will leave it to the court to make that determination. But from the reports that I get from time to time, is that everyone who goes through that process must comply with the Correctional Services Act.
Minister, I'm completely out of time, but if you were to just give us a quick answer as to what kind of a person qualifies to be placed on medical parole. Is it a person who effectively is dying?
Yeah, you'll remember the Correctional Services Act speaks about someone on chronic illness and that part. So, and it is something that obviously they must go through the medical parole board and all those kind of recommendations. So it has to go through and comply with the Correctional Services Act in line with what the objectives of such provisions are.
That's the Justice and Correctional Services Minister, Ronald Lamola. I do thank you very much for your time.